Hi guys, I'm RJ,
And I'm Judy.
and welcome to RJ's Corner. Actually, no, let's call it Storytimes with RJ. Well, just read you guys stories that I've written over the last 6 years. And before you ask, they're all fictional. So if you find yourself relating to a character in this story, it's all in your head. Anyway, so today's story is called Yo. It's getting late. A bit of a synopsis on this. I wrote it on the second, what would have been the 26th anniversary of my parents' marriage, which was now the second day after my mom had passed on. Yeah, so if it's a bit somber, if it's a bit reflective, it's a bit depressed. Yeah. And
Depressive. Just say the whole word.
so if it's a bit depressed, anyway, it's story times with RJ, not story times with Judy. Ungekuwa mnoma then. Aya. So here we go. He sat across from his therapist, his leg tapping in a staccato. His obsessive compulsion had ensured that even his defects had to defect in perfection. She gave him a calm, warm stare, then smiled and asked him to narrate how the episode had manifested this time round. He took a sip of his water, shrugged his shoulder, and began the narration. I still don't know what my triggers are up to this point, but I can say with certainty that my ability to regulate the episodes has greatly improved. However, those first 24 hours were nerve-wracking and heart-wrenching. I had been presented with the question of my entire mortality, and inasmuch as I have thought about death and experienced the loss of a loved one, this one hit me a little differently. Dr. Juma had given me some small pep talk beforehand on how it was going to be okay, that I possessed the same genetic composition that allowed my parents to fight this condition to the end, but failed to include that it was the same genes that were defective enough to bestow upon me this wretched cross that is cancer. For the first time in my life, right there in that stupid, dingy office, did I feel a clear distinction between the physical and metaphysical. So, allow me to interrupt, Kendi interjected. Physical and metaphysical. Expound. For the first time in my life, I felt the existence of my soul. I was able to step out of the vessel that is my body and think critically about why it is I am on this earth. We talk about faith, belief, and all of that. But when faced with the question of your mortality, that is the first thing that is probably rocked. All my life, I had been brought up in a deeply Baptist setting. The notion that it is only God's strongest soldiers who suffer had deeply been embedded in my DNA. I was a walking and living testament of the push concept. Pray until something happens. But this deity only seemed interested in taking from me, and not once was he looking to cut me some slack and give me. One can make an argument, of course, that there were so many people who seemed to be drawing strength from my experiences and my struggle and suffering. But if we're being honest, I'm not that Jesus guy. I don't have a higher goal. I don't want to lay down my life for others. I've been forced to live through spaces where I'm serving everyone. And this right here, this condition I'm experiencing, doesn't make shit better for me. So how does the separation between that physical and metaphysical come in place? I sighed and told her, I'm going to miss you keeping me in check when my thought process wanders. I said with a wry smile. Where are you going? Candy asked. To die. I hear it's more peaceful and that the voices in your head quiet out forever. A solemn silence enshrined the room. We both stared at each other, Candy with a look of concern, I with a look of deliriousness. Sorry, bad joke. I'll be polite. I keep asking myself, Candy, what's the point of it all? Why do I have to keep fighting? Every decision I've taken in my life has led me to this point. And even then, I think about it critically and ask myself if I was the one even making those decisions, or I'm just following a coded sequence of activities. Do I really want to visit Eastern Asia? Or is it that because I visited there when dad was working and I'd like to return to my yesteryears of no consequences? Nothing about my experiences feel like it has been purely my decision. And to make matters even more complex, my interests, my hobbies, my area of expertise, what about all of those? Do they even matter? People at work paint me to be this great IT guru because I get things done efficiently. But do I though? I didn't even go to university for this. I don't even have a certification for it. I just picked up my laptop one day, downloaded Python, did the hello world cliche, and now here I am. In fact, I studied veterinary medicine. What business do I have being compared to Steve Jobs? To spice all of this, I'm going to die, and that's something I don't even have control over. And at the end of that journey, none of these things will matter. And more importantly, nobody will remember them. Candy took a moment to ponder all I had told her, took a sip of her water and responded. Ngoni, if I'm being honest, I don't have a response for this currently. So let me think a bit, then give you a better response. But for the time being, I'll need you to start practicing some patience with yourself. Try to live every day differently and enjoy the little things. Be present in the moment. Eat your food. Drink your water. Actually drink your water. Take your medication, because the time to fight a little more will come. And we don't want you winding down that battle with bitterness that you let your anger cloud your judgment today. That's the story for today. It was deep, it was sad, and it was dark. Wow. It's also the first time I'm reading it in a while, so yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you for. Can I ask a question?
Yeah, you can ask a question.
What prompted this?
What prompted this?
What prompted this article?
I had reached a point in my life where it's not an article, first of all, it's a story. It's Storytimes with RJ. Please get that in. Not articles with RJ.
Okay.
What prompted it was, I think I was planning to move out. And September, October tend to be the heaviest months emotionally for me. So all the chickens came home to roost because I was also moving out in September, and that's the first time I was going to be alone in my adult life. So, yeah.
And you
I was
said
getting overwhelmed by all these emotions. And it's also difficult also to share with your boys, with your babes. Like, there's only so much people can handle before they realize, hey, I don't have the capacity to help you. Because we do have a mutual friend who, this guy, the wife was pregnant, they had twins, or they were expecting twins. This guy went to a certain prolific hospital in the city. She started losing, they started losing her. So they went, of course, C-section emergency. And she never came back. So now this guy has 2 kids that he needs to take care of. He had just faced a redundancy at work. And yeah, the wife is dead. You know, such a guy, you don't even know what to tell him. So some of these experiences that I had and some of these questions I was asking myself and my therapist, you know, even they didn't have anything to say. There's only so much assistance you can accord someone.
what would you like the takeaway from the story to be?
Drink your water, and that's why I emphasized on that bit. Like, when was the act? When did you last drink water? You know, not because you were thirsty, but you actually drank the water. You ate the food. You took a shower. Not because it was your routine, but you're actually showering. You know, you're actually eating the food. You're enjoying the flavor. You're taking your time. You know, you're not in a rush. You're chewing. You know, and all these things. that for me is what quieted down everything. So it was today, I'll wake up, I will watch football. And I'll really watch football. Now, the inadvertent effect is I've become such a tactical analyst. I can't enjoy football the way I used to before. So even when I used to go and watch Chan games live at Kasarani, I was there, everyone is like, yeah, ole, 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 and they're doing the waves and stuff like that. And me, I'm like, okay, fine. If we take off this player and bring this other one, we'll overload this wing and we'll be able to hold back. And, and yeah, that's now had been the net effect of, actually watching football, yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing.
Yeah. See you on the next episode of Stories with RJ.